place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Friday, May 30th, 2025. I know what year it is today. And this is episode 1042 of Living Free in Tennessee. And it's a Friday show, so it's a Homestead Happening show. I'm joined by the Tactical Redneck today. And if you're in the live stream, this is probably the most interactive we get with y'all. So welcome to the live stream, Amy. I think I saw Pack Rat in there, Matt, 30-day reviews. 30-day reviews, man, I haven't seen you in a long time. The cool thing about this is it's showing that 2 people are watching this live stream, but I'm seeing multiple names come up. So that's an interesting data point for all of us. Welcome to my Rumble people. I haven't figured out how to see what Rumble people are saying, but we are like consistently streaming to Rumble as well. Anyway, we're going to talk about wild edible harvests. All the wild edible stuff is coming on today. The Homesteader Grocery Store that we just launched today.
We actually launched that.
Yep. And then water austerity measures and a whole bunch more about what's been happening in the last week. So if you guys want to hear about anything here, you totally can. Before I do that, though, I want to talk about our featured event of today's show. And it is on June 8th at the Holler Homestead. As a matter of fact, you can come out here, meet us in person. And this is not an event where you need to spend money. It's a free event that we're doing Sunday the 8th at 1 p.m. And it is an open house potluck sort of thing. Plus, we're going to do a tomato wall build. So we're going to be doing that anyway. And I was like, well, this is something people always ask us about. So why don't we turn it into a gathering? So we'll be putting together the build. I do request that folks RSVP though. So we have an idea of how many want to come. So if you go to livingfreeintennessee.com, you can just tell me, name, phone, email, how many are coming. If we have any updates happen, like I end up in the hospital and the event gets canceled, we don't want that to happen, but you never know when things are going to happen. Then that will happen there. It starts at 1 p.m. with the potluck. The build starts at 2 p.m. Check that out at at livingfreeintennessee.com. I almost said the hollerhomestead.com.
Maybe we should have that domain too.
I do.
Oh.
Yeah, I just don't have anything there right now. So that was an interesting little
slip. Does it at least redirect?
No.
Fail.
It is on my list to get that homestead site up that just sort of gives information about the homestead as part of the rentals that we do here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anybody in the live stream going to come to that? Anyway, it's 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on a Sunday. It's an outdoor event. We've got composting outhouses. We'll have plenty of water. There might be coffee or there might be iced coffee. It just depends on how hot it is on June 8th. And if it's raining, we're cool to go because it's covered out there. So that's the event. I also want to thank 2 sponsors today. Our first sponsor is John Pugliano of the Wealthsteading Podcast. John Pugliano has been supporting the podcast since well before we launched our sponsorship program. And he's got a pretty darn cool podcast called the Wealthsteading Podcast. It's like how to use homesteading principles in your wealth, right? He talks about how to get your money to make more money. And he shares openly how he's making decisions, his analysis of things. It's a great way to learn more about investing. Check that out at investablewealth.com. You can click on podcast and those episodes are there. Or if you go to the Wealthsteading, like homesteading, but Wealthsteading podcast on any podcatcher, it will come to your phone. It's magic. Do you listen to his podcast? Periodically.
I'm not listening to a lot of things right now, so...
You are actually, in fact, listening to lots of different things right now.
Well, yes, but I'm very, hyper-focused on some certain things.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Our second sponsor is it's another money guy. You know who it is?
Matt.
Agrisax.com. That's right. He's been supporting the show forever. And actually, as we sit here on the precipice of something new that we're going to be launching, that we've already started quiet launching, it's time to talk to the tax guy. And Matthew Sursley at the agrisaxadvice.com, at agrisaxadvice.com/LFTN if you want to get free tax guides and stuff. He's been supporting us for a long time, but working with him, really opened my eyes to how important it is to track more of what we're doing. And it's been a pretty heavy push for me to get everything tracked, but it's very eye-opening. I in fact went over Q1 numbers broken up by the different things we do here to see where we're making money and where we're losing money. So we don't just assume we're making money because the business is making money. So that's one like big advantage of working with somebody like Matthew. But the bigger advantage is he can look at how your finances are laid out and work with you to make sure you're structured well to take advantage of the tax code. And when you do that, you keep more of your money in your pocket. Perfectly legal. Check that out, agristaxadvice.com/LFTN. All the intro segments are done, and you actually talked in the intro segments.
Okay.
Have you noticed we're working better together lately?
Sure.
Sure?
Sure.
Is sure yes? Is that redneck for yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that?
I think there's a lot to it, but I think getting into that routine is definitely beneficial.
So what's the routine? You know how we're supposed to concentrate on things and not have our phones interrupting us at important times? I broke the routine rule.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, silent. Anyway, so tell them about the routine. You don't have to tell them what's on it, but just sort of the concept behind it.
I mean, I kind of hit this up the other day when you were gone, but my therapist has been on me from the beginning to get back into a routine, and I kicked and screamed and finally started doing a couple of
He
things.
gnashed his teeth a little bit.
A lot. And so recently I was like, I'm going to put this to an actual timeline to make it a little bit more regimented. And once I started doing that, I started realizing that I could add a bunch of other stuff in, and it just makes everything more efficient. And I mean, especially for me, like having everything listed and tied to a timeline makes it far more likely that I'm actually going to get it done. I'm actually going to remember all of the stuff that needs to get done, and then the times that like the routine has gone completely derailed for one reason or another, like I've actually been good about going back and actually looking at it, because I've got it on my phone and on the whiteboard in my cabin, and actually looking to see what did I not do yet. So it's been working fairly well. Like I've been actually sleeping better because of this.
Okay, so he's taking control of his sleep. He's set up a better way of tracking what he's doing. And then when he gets derailed, he gets re-railed a lot easier because of the routine. The other thing he did is he shared his routine with me, and I shared my routine back. Yes. And we looked at our routines side by side, and they complement each other really well. And then I can see, like, if he's having a sheep escape problem, I can be like, oh, this is what he does in the morning. This is all part of the foundation that we're laying to make it so that we can bring more people in on the homestead. Yeah. Because before we can do that, there has to be an SOP for things, because otherwise it's like we have to give one task at a time, and it's horribly inefficient. What if we had things written out and this is just what you're responsible for, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's been really awesome. Welcome to the show, Patrick and Carson and Beth Emily, Pippinized. So that's one reason we've been communicating better. Part of it's also how the routine's built out, though.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that.
Yeah, so we have check-in points scheduled in, and one of the things that I added to my routine are specific meal times. And the expectation is we make time to eat meals together at meal times. And, you know, a meal may only last 10 minutes. Like breakfast probably only lasts 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was quick today.
But it's just, oh, good. We're going to have vomit behind us while we talk. Yes. So it's actually good because that gives us a chance to check in and say, like, this is going well. I just realized this is not going well, or whatever that is. So definitely working. I've noticed a marked difference. We've only been doing this like what, 4 weeks, 3 weeks?
Something like that.
Yeah, I've noticed a marked difference in actually other things getting done more efficiently, because we have those chances to say like, this isn't going well and there's some troubleshooting time, or I know this isn't going well, but I've already got a plan and I don't really need to talk about it. It's just that I'm not going to the store to get the thing that I need until this other time. It's added a lot of efficiency. So definitely worth the time there. Also, your mic is not on, really? Tactical, say something.
What?
Say more.
More.
Say a lot more.
It's on.
Okay. I'm louder than him, though. Here, trade me mics.
That's normal.
That's a ringing endorsement right there. It's normal. Okay, am I even louder now, Justin, or what? Talk.
I don't know. I mean, you're always louder than I am. You're always complaining about the fact that I'm not loud enough.
I think the deal is that this mic, one of these mics is like turned up a little higher, and I've had your mic on. So anyway, so water austerity measures. One of the things we got to communicate about this week was water austerity measures. And it started by, like, I had been out of town for 4 days for the polyface thing?
Something like that.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, it was 4. It was like 4 full days, though. It wasn't like any half days at all. So, oh, it's the computer mic. Really? Okay. That actually makes a whole lot of sense. Okay, now magically we sound better. Thank you, Justin. Now I bet I sound better, huh? So I was gone, and something I do like from time to time to get a reset is I'll look at the solar panel app on my phone and see how much money I'm not spending on power, which may sound like a really nerdy, dumb thing to do, but it's like another kilowatt hour I didn't have to buy from the grid. So I did that. Like, I didn't do that for those 4 days because, as you can imagine, like, I was either driving or riding and talking to Carrie Brown, and we had a lot of time to talk about strategy and other, like, he was helping me brainstorm some of what we're building out here now, which was awesome. And then he was sharing what they're doing on their property, which is awesome. By the way, there's a meetup there this Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. strongrootsresources.com. I'll be there. And I got home, and I think it was like really busy catching up on Monday, and sometime at the end of the day on Monday, or somewhere on Monday or Tuesday. I don't know. It was Tuesday, wasn't it? I don't know. Doesn't matter. No, it was Monday
because it was Memorial
because everything was closed. I look at the power consumption, and the power consumption side of the solar system was darn near 1,000 watts, which if an air conditioner is running or something, that makes sense. But
the automatic assumption is it's the water pump.
So the automatic assumption is the water pump's not turning off, which usually means the filters are clogged. We've had a lot of rain. And so I just told him, and he checked in, and what happened?
I was expecting filters to be absolutely just slam packed, and the bucket that the pump is in to be full of who knows what, and everything looked fine. But there was not a whole lot of water pressure. And in the process of dicking with it, I think I managed to actually finish breaking the pump.
So we were not refilling. So the way my system is, there's a spring. We pump from the spring to a holding tank to the house, so that I can use water faster than it comes out of the ground. And in my catch up, I had been doing all of the laundry on Monday. I was like, his clothes, my clothes, bed sheets, towels, like all of the laundry. I'd done at least 4 loads, which uses all of the water. And dog beds, all the dog beds. So we were down. He's like, there's a foot of water left in the tank. And he was going to go to Lowe's to get a pump. And about the last thing anybody wants to do at 5 p.m. on Memorial Day is go to Lowe's and then come back and then have to figure out like how we get and I was like, I've lived without, like when I moved in here, there was a little bit of water coming out of the kitchen sink and you could flush toilets, but you could not bathe or do laundry or easily wash your hands. And I was like, I lived with water like carted up from the creek when I first moved here. So surely I could suck it up for one night. But I was also pretty sweaty and smelly. And I was like, is there enough for showers?
I figured there was.
He was like, maybe. So I like turned off the water feeds to my toilet so I wouldn't accidentally flush it and use water. And, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, go to the outhouse sort of thing. And because a shower was more important to me than flushing the toilet. And we took sea showers. So he took his shower first because he hadn't had a shower all day and I had at least gotten one in the morning. So it wasn't as smelly as you. And like, I was like, just let me know when you're done with your shower. And then it was like totally sea shower, water austerity measure. And I chose shower over doing the dishes. So there was just a big old pile of unwashed dishes.
Literally just had a conversation about sea showers before the workshop.
Yeah. Yep. So
I don't remember the last time I actually had to do that.
Yeah, well, what's funny is when you were on the boat, you didn't have to do that because you were the guy who made the water so you could make more water and you didn't care, right?
Yeah, I also had access to a lot of parts to fix stuff too.
Yeah. This kind of illustrated something. One, I almost always have a second backup pump, and we actually need to test that other pump to see.
Yeah.
But you didn't think you had the right fittings for my other pump.
I probably have enough fittings. I could have contracted something, but I was exhausted, and I did try pulling the pump apart in what looked like a way that made sense, and found out very quickly that it's an oil-filled pump.
I've made that mistake.
Yeah, I've
done that before.
I expected the base plate to come off of the impeller, and what came off was the cover for the motor.
So what you're telling me is the whole pump is dead now.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So metal scrap. So because what often happens, it's a sump pump that we use to fill from the spring to the storage tank. What happened is usually if they overheat, they just turn off before they burn out. And then it takes 24 hours for them to start again. And the other pump, we haven't checked to see if that's what happened with it when it stopped running. But I always had two in rotation. And last time I bought one, I guess I remember I only bought one because they only had one in stock. And I usually, if I'm down to one pump, I buy two pumps when I'm replacing that one pump. So I have two pumps again. So we still need to get a second sump pump here.
Yeah.
But it was like $200, right?
It was like 180.
Yeah, I need to sell another magic card first. So I'll be listing my magic cards for sale again this weekend on eBay, and we'll see how we do.
Yeah.
It's all about using the junk to pay for the stuff I actually want right now.
Basically.
So the thing I realized, though, because then I was thinking about showers all week, and yesterday I got to take an outdoor shower in my outdoor shower, which is epic. I have an epic outdoor shower, don't I?
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a shower in that?
I don't think so.
How come?
I don't know. I got a shower in the cabin.
Yeah, but you can like watch the birds sing.
Okay.
And the cats play.
Okay.
While taking a shower. You could take a shower outside in the rain. That's kind of cool.
Okay.
That's not cool to you?
Generally, when I take a shower at the end of the day, I'm taking a shower because I need a shower. And that would require going down to the cabin, getting all of my stuff, and then coming all the way back up here, and then taking all of my stuff all the way back down there.
Well, I mean, your dirty clothes hamper is in the mudroom, so you could just dump it in there on your way down.
I mean, sure, that part, but
it's actually kind of efficient.
Okay.
Anyway, yesterday I hadn't taken an outdoor shower yet this year, really. I mean, I think I took one to test it. But usually it's like every day I take an outdoor shower. And then I ended up yesterday, I was sitting there and it was shower time. And I was like, it's starting to get dark. I think I want an outdoor shower today. But the problem is I have this really nice bathtub and I have another really nice shower inside. So now I have too many showers to choose from. It's a huge problem to have, isn't it?
First world problem.
Yeah. So we have all the showers here apparently. And that's good because we have like the shower in my house. You can, if you have a broken leg, you can sit on the little shelf, take your little shower with the little hand wand, or you can stand up. I use that one a lot, like after I swim, because I can turn it on, rinse off real fast, and I'm done. Anyway, as you build out your homestead, you start having too many choices when you build what you really love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how different that is from when I had to carry water that I boiled on the stove to an old bathtub that didn't have water running to it to take a bath when I first lived here.
Yeah.
How things have changed.
Yes.
Yes. Then I've been wanting to get into growing mushrooms, right?
Yes.
And for years, I've thought I have this interesting waste stream from Holler Roast Coffee. I have these beans that I roast, and sometimes I screw up a roast, and I've just been composting them. When there's okay, so I'd like to show you guys. Exhibit A is a teacup. This is Tactical's teacup. Jenny gave it to you, right?
Yes.
Yes. He came up and for the first time since ever on a live stream, did not go to the coffee maker and make a cup of coffee before this show. And I asked him if he was feeling okay.
Yeah. It is out of the ordinary.
Yeah. So he didn't make coffee, but how many cups of coffee would you say you make a day out of my coffee maker?
A lot.
Probably 10 to 15, I would guess. And that generates a lot of coffee grounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought, what if I took the coffee grounds and grew mushrooms in them? Like, how would I do that? Never really solved the problem. So finally, I was at Midwest Preparedness Project. I was listening to one of Jack Spirko's shows where he's doing an interview with Mushroom Mountain. And they're like, yeah, you could grow them in coffee grounds. And I'm like, see, I'm right. I can grow them in coffee grounds. So I immediately ordered oyster mushroom spawn and told him when I got home, I put a thing in my freezer and I'm like, don't take the coffee grounds out to the compost, put it in this freezer thing. So I got that. And I also ordered King Strephoria, which is wine cap, I think is what they're called. They have a red colored like little hat when they grow. I ordered some of those too because I wanted to interplant them in my garden. But then I was reading how to do them. And for the wood-based mushrooms, they say use wood chips that are 2 weeks old or under so that other mushrooms haven't taken on so you don't end up with an unfortunate problem. And yeah, Amy says King Strephoria is a chicken magnet. Yep. Don't know that yet. I just got the spawn out, or the spores, actually, not the spawn. Spawn is a different thing.
Yeah.
Offspring. Well, I mean, they're both theoretically in the same category. And so I was starting to look at different options like straw, or just trying anyway by scattering it around the garden and using my older wood chips, which I have older wood chips to mulch with because that makes great mulch. And Liza, my neighbor, drives up in the middle of the day. She never drives up. It's like she used to stop over all the time and say hi and stuff. But as the years have gone by, she just maybe 2-3 times a year drives up and says something.
Yeah.
And she goes, do you want any mulch? And I said, what kind of mulch? She said, well, a bunch of trees were knocked over at Gay's house and they just like ground them all up and they're in my driveway. So and I was like, are they hardwoods? She's like, yeah. So I was like, well, God has provided me with some wood chips now and I can do my King Strephoria bed. And we went down there and got them. And now we have this like huge pile to move. What I think is funny about it is she basically gave me free mulch, but what she's getting is free cleanup. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I have, we have the King Strephoria bed in. I'm actually going to interplant tomatoes into that bed and peppers probably, and maybe some squash. We'll see. Do you have a machete?
Yes.
I could use a machete and a hammer for that because I want to, where the roots are, cut through the cardboard so I can get down because we have cardboard and then wood chips. I want to just be able to slice through the cardboard.
Okay.
So I have a little bit of soil contact with the roots.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's going to be a problem with dry summer heat.
Okay.
Anyway, so that was sort of the thing there. And that's why it's good to know your neighbors, because every so often you need wood chips for your mushrooms and they have trees down and the guy was going to charge them extra to bring them to town. So we also saved her some money because the guy, he was like, it costs money for me to take them and dump them off in town. And I'm like, really? Because anytime anybody wants to dump wood chips here, they are invited.
Yes.
I might even, if I had a beer, I'd give you a beer, but I'll at least give you a cup of coffee. If you drop a lot of wood chips, I'll give you a pound of coffee.
At least it wasn't a whole cup.
I was just thinking of if we were to do a 2025 highlights show or highlights like highlight email, one of them has to be a picture of my computer upside down while you're cleaning everything up when I spilled the whole cup of coffee on it. And guys, this is what saved my computer from death. This, they're available on Amazon for your computers, and you put it over your keyboard. So when you're on the airplane and the stewardess drops a cup of water, it doesn't go down in your keyboard. And the only thing I had to repair on it was my USB-C port, because that came in from the side. Yeah. Hello, Dean. Welcome from North Carolina. Amy says, wood chips are apparently the hot thing for mushrooms because straw breaks down too quickly. Yeah. Yep. And we won the Homestead lottery on that one.
Yes, we did.
I did have a question in about pumps from Pack Rat. Do you have a favorite self-priming sump pump brand model to keep on hand? I don't, but I buy mine from B&G Plumbing and Electrical Supply in Smithville, Tennessee. And they actually stock really, like they think about what they stock. So I've never really worried about it. They last pretty well. The only time I've not stocked from there has been literally out of water on a Sunday and they're not open. And now that's why I keep two on hand, because theirs cost a little bit more, but they last longer. So I will, when I buy the next one, I'll find out the brand and try to remember to put it in one of our weekly mails. If you're not on the weekly email list, go to livingfreeintennessee.com and sign up. I send an email about once a week, sometimes more than once a week, but usually just once a week, saying, there's usually something about what's going on here, and then our live stream schedule and the past week's episodes. Usually I toss a recipe in there. This week I did not, because you cannot let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And I was not going to ever get that email out this week if I didn't just send it. And there was some fun stuff going on. I wanted to make sure you all knew I was talking to Bear Independent today. So what's that in your hand? Oh, you know what? Apparently in the garbage, the Burkham 1/3 horsepower automatic professional Gamma Professional. This is what we got. Also, this is the Spanish description, which is kind of an interesting choice, but I don't think he looked at the words when he grabbed it. Anyways,
I just grabbed
Burkham.
the first piece that came out. And that one comes with
Bombas de calidad desde 1978. I don't speak Spanish. But there you go.
That one comes with a float switch that the pump plugs into.
Yeah.
So you can just unplug it.
Okay.
And then I've got a check valve mounted on the discharge side of the pump.
Because?
To prevent backflow.
Okay. Which keeps the sand out of it?
It just keeps the filters wet.
Okay. Cool. So now it's time to talk about Homesteader Grocery Store conversations. This all started because I got free squash plants from another homesteader in the area, and they came by to pick up tomato plants. So it wasn't really free. He was like, oh, I'll take those tomato plants. You have squash plants. Everybody wins. And he and his wife stopped by. And he looks tired because he's running his homestead and working 5 days a week. And she's also working. So they're kind of in that time on homesteading where you're pushing through, hopefully, to get to the other side and have your revenue stream. And if you were at Exit and Build, I was talking about design your homestead with profit in mind, because otherwise you're going to design your homestead to be 2 full-time jobs plus,
Yeah.
maybe 3. And that's not an easy way to live. So he was explaining everything he's planted this year, and he looked really tired, and he's like, so at the height of summer, I'm going to have, if I'm not doing a good job, about 100 pounds of produce coming off that a day. And if I'm doing a good job, 600 pounds a day. And he looks at me, he just stopped and goes, man, I hope I can sell that, because I don't think I can sell that at the Smithville Farmers Market. And so I went into solutions mode, which, like a man, which may not have been what he was looking for. But I was like, well, have you thought of do you know what a CSA is? We kind of talked about subscription boxes and some other stuff. He has some contacts that can filter his vegetables into the local grocery market, which is pretty cool. But I told him, we've been having a lot of messages that are coming from outside of us here. And one of the things that's been on my mind a lot is having a country store, not like a big country store open Monday through Saturday, blah, 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 but a place where you can come and buy some of the products we're developing here and other people in the community, and to go membership based. And I need to do the legal side of that. I believe if I go membership based, people can buy the cut meat from us here that's not USDA processed.
Yeah.
But I have to verify that. And in order for that to really happen and there's 2 ways this happens. One, all of the members are very carefully vetted, and they come into a room with nobody in it where the things are, and they self-serve and they pay, right? And they pay an annual membership. That means we don't have to have somebody sitting in a store doing nothing or whatever. 2, it ends up having enough community interest that there are people to help work at the store and connect people with high quality, regeneratively raised food in the area. And so I just took that started me like, okay, I was already thinking about it. I was already wanting to do it. I already wanted a farm stand at the end of the driveway, right?
Yeah.
That was just a self-serve honor system thing. Rather than talk about it, it's time to start doing it.
Yeah.
So our first iteration of this farm store will be at the June 8th event. I'm going to reach out to anybody I know to see if they want to put some things out. And we're going to do our best that day and learn from it. So the store launched today in that way. Surprise!
This is the first time hearing about this, by the way.
You were working so hard today to move the sheep.
Yeah.
It is the first he's hearing about it. Hopefully you're okay with that.
I have no reason to argue it.
Yeah. So anyway, Dean says, running a CSA is very stressful and hard. We ran 50-member CSA for 2 years. Continuity of supply during time frame is a challenge. Yeah. So if you run a CSA, the communication about you get what you get is important. And I know somebody else who ran a CSA, and that was the same thing. She was going to return everybody's money because she had failure. And I remember sitting down with her and being like, so do you know how I learned how to forage wild edible food? And she's like, how? I'm like, from you. What can you forage for your CSA right now? And she had watercress and sweet potato greens and a whole bunch of stuff. And it was the year of no rain in the summer. And she was raising her food without watering. That was her thing. And I was like, also, I have holy hoses to lend you. And she's like, holy hoses. I'm like, yeah, I have hoses I've drilled holes in because they make a better watering system for my garden than anything I found on the market. And they were cheap ass Walmart hoses, 50 feet long with a cap on the end. And they didn't spray high. They just leaked out. And I was like, take 2 of my holy hoses and water your garden. And it worked.
Yeah.
So the other thing you could do that this guy could do, who I was talking to, is he has enough relationships with other farmers and homesteaders in the area that they could pool their resources for subscription boxes too.
Yeah.
Which may happen here as part of the store project. I don't know. Joel Salatin has great stories about growing up working at local ag products market. Yep. I learned a lot from every time I talk to Joel, I learn something. And then I think about it and I have to ask him more questions next time I see him. Offer credit card pay options as well, then add a small fee for doing So that way people don't have to drive by when they don't have cash on them. Yeah, so I already take digital payment and I don't add a fee for it. I build that into the price so that, because wow, really? People get really strangely offended when you add $4 fees for processing their credit cards or whatever.
That's because they don't realize that every store in this country already does that. They just don't tell
Yeah,
you.
you just put it in the price. I think that it's like free shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think minimums have to happen in that case. But I could also set it up so they pre-buy $50 at a time. I don't know. We're going to figure that all out as we go. We have to see if the people are interested and if we can connect people with food as we think we can. Right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I saw on my walk this week?
No idea.
Black raspberries are ripe.
Okay.
The wild raspberry. Where did you say I need to look on my property?
In between the gate to the garden and the propane tank.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So black raspberries are apparently still in existence on my property. I thought they had all been murdered by the redneck who hates thorny things.
So did I.
But they will come back if you let them come back. I love black raspberries. I've really wanted to figure out where we can have just like a skull and crossbones sign, and it's like the caution all ye who enter here garden, and it has roses and raspberries and wineberries and gooseberries and other thorny berries.
So we're putting that sign on the hillside garden?
Maybe. But right now that is the hillside garden. But to have a place where it's contained. But we don't have that right now. However, when I was walking, I got 5 raspberries on one walk, and then I got like a whole handful. Yeah, Packrat says offer a discount for cash. Yep, that works too. Anyway, I'm excited about that. You know what else is in season right now?
A lot of things.
The last round of rose petals it's time to get. He sent me a picture from his pond garden, and it was a beautiful yellow flower center with white petals. Guess what it was?
Chamomile.
It was chamomile. I think you were sending it to verify that was chamomile?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way chamomile works is you don't eat the leaves, you eat the flowers, or you make tea out of them. And you only do that, like the leaves taste bitter. So you basically have to harvest the flowers every day in order to get enough flowers. So we'll see how much we get. I think he drinks chamomile tea every night. So I don't think there will be enough off this one plant for a whole year.
No, but I gotta look into that. Should be Roman chamomile. So I'm gonna look at taking some cuttings off of that and see if I can get them to root.
Yeah.
And put them other places.
Yeah. So that's coming off. Chocolate mint, lemon balm, red clover. So red clover goes all summer, but I like to get it about this time of year because it's still relatively cool in the mornings. And it just, when it dries, it doesn't turn as brown as it does later in the summer. So my goal is to get a lot of red clover, even though I didn't use all of last year's red clover. I think my last round of rose petals is happening this week. And what's really fun about my notes is it says harvestrum. It's harvestrum. Anyway, and then chocolate mint, comfrey, yarrow, all of that's coming off the land. If Carrie was here, he'd probably list like 20 more things. Great time to get blackberry and raspberry leaves. Bee balm should be coming soon.
Probably.
Which leads to the mystery I had. So I've been drying herbs on this shelf where I grow seedlings. And I had this pile of dried leaves here on the counter. And I'm like, Tactical, did you put something on my thing for drying? And he was like, no. I'm like, do you know what this is? Because I know what it isn't. It isn't like, it was sort of the shape of sage leaves, but it was clearly not sage. And I kept smelling it. And I'm like, that smells kind of like oranges. I don't know what it is. I kind of vaguely remember putting something on that and then like forgetting and leaving and being busy. And so finally I took a leaf and I bit it and it tasted like orange. And I was like, I know what this is. Will gave me orange balm at the spring workshop in a bag. And I was afraid it was going to mold if I left it in said bag, and I wanted to dry it for tea. So I put it out, like I ran in the house and just spread it out so it wouldn't mold, and then promptly forgot it was there. So the good news is it dried. It's now in a jar with a label, and I figured out what it was. But it was really funny because I just had no idea. It was just like, So eventually you can figure it out. It's kind of like when you don't label your garden vegetables and you have to wait till they're ripe to know what kind of tomato or squash it is. That never happens here, does it?
I do that every year.
Yeah. I never know what my tomatoes are until they're ripe. I just have no idea.
Yeah.
But I do, like, I carefully label them until such a time as they get transplanted. So Justin says, I really want to make a tea garden here. A couple years ago, I tried and most didn't come up. Second year, nothing did. So I need to figure out where to put it and such. Yeah. How many rosemary plants are currently alive on property?
I'm actually not sure.
1 or 2?
No, there's probably 5 or 6 at least.
So I'm pretty sure we planted more than 20 about a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
All over the place trying to figure out where they grow. And some of them got nailed by fire ants. Some of them didn't overwinter. And we have a few that are here now and have made it overwinter.
Yes.
Twice in one case, I think.
Some of the stuff down by the pond has probably been through 2, but maybe only 1.
So the microclimate down by the pond is 55-degree water, which means it doesn't get as extremely cold near the water. Even though that sounds cold, it's a cool sink in the summer and it's a heat sink in the winter, which means it's more
Balanced.
more balanced there. So that is probably why that's where it's living. It's also an enormous pain in the neck to get to go harvest it. You have to be a rock goat.
Yeah.
Or a redneck in clogs.
Okay.
He literally went on a relatively challenging hike with a backpack on in clogs, jumping up and down rock cliffs in clogs like a rock goat. That's the redneck, just so you know. That's you.
It's not like I don't wear those every day anyway.
Yeah. Well, I was like, you're going to wear those shoes? Okay. And I'm like, I'm the one having a hard time on this hike. He's like, I'm going to prance over the rocks. It's fine. Yep.
A little bit worse than a sheep pasture.
Nighthawk's family was in town, and his nephew was in town with the grandparents.
Yes.
Went up and looked at the goat and told me that Clover didn't come out to say hi, and I thought nothing of it because you had just fed her.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, I was mulching the garden before the rains came was my goal there. And I hear her making all sorts of noises. And I'm like, why? And she's not at the gate. And I go out there and her head's sticking out of the barn at me. Tactical rock goat is what they're now calling you.
Okay.
And I'm like, is your head stuck, Clover? And I walk in and she'd gotten her head between the cattle panel and it was stuck. So then I don't have my phone with me, of course. I'm yelling for him and starting to walk down to get him. And he came up and we got her unstuck. But that goat had her head stuck probably all night. So next time somebody tells me Clover didn't come say hi, I'm just going to assume there's a problem.
Yeah, this is the same goat that's had her head stuck in that cattle panel on numerous occasions and hasn't figured out that there is absolutely no need for her to stick her head through the cattle panel when the gate door is wide open.
You know why I like our sheep?
Because they don't stick their head in cattle panels.
No, because they don't have horns. If she didn't have horns, it wouldn't be an issue. But she has horns, and they've been getting longer as she gets older. And yeah, she was totally caught there. I want to talk about rabbit demo day.
Okay.
So our plan was to process the rabbits for the LGDs. And then I think you had the brilliant idea of having some people come see the rabbit processing.
Is that my idea?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, shoot, we might as well just open it up to everybody. So we'll be having, towards the end of the month, we'll be processing the rabbits. And that will be another time people can come. And we're not doing a class. because we don't know enough about. We process rabbits; it goes well, but we've never taught it before. So that one's going to be limited when we launch it to no more than 20 people, because I don't think that more than 20 people can really observe and gain information from that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We are going to process for more than the LGDs for that one.
Yeah, so we're going to process them. That includes skinning and partsing and packaging rabbits. And same thing, we'll do like a potlucky thing or something like that.
Yeah.
Because what you want to do when you're slaughtering is eat food.
Will be nice and let you do it beforehand.
Or after.
Or during.
Or during. Rabbit sushi? I'm just kidding. You guys want some rabbit sushi? Just curious. So bed 4 is ready to plant, as I talked about. That's the one I did the King Christopher. How's bed 5 doing?
I am inches away from getting that bed set completely, and I started dicking with it the other day, and good Tennessee red dirt that's sopping wet and now ever mud. You basically need 2 trowels. You need one to scoop the mud out and the second one to scrape the mud off of the first one.
Speaking of the rain.
More rain.
More rain. There's so much rain this year. In 2010, we had rain like this, and it was cold on Memorial Day weekend, which it was this year, and it rained, which it did this year, and it rained through mid-July, and then it did not.
I'm not looking forward to that part.
So we're trying to take advantage of the rain as best we can. I'm totally putting in sprinkler systems on the King's Treforia bed as well as the compost pile, so that when we get to did not time, I don't kill all the things.
Yeah.
But if this continues mirroring the 2010 season, I can tell you it was not a good melon year that year, but it was a great cucumber year. So maybe today we could put in cucumber seeds. I still haven't planted cucumbers, guys. Oh, Amy's suggesting shish kebabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I mean, especially like the side parts of the rabbit where all the little tiny bones end up getting stuck in the meat. Minus the bones, that would make good shish kebabs. And I think that's like, it's good to notice what your weather's like every year, because then you see a trend. Like that was 15 years ago that happened. And I remember it because of the Nashville flood. And that was the year of the tossed salad garden, where I had planted all my seeds in advance of this rainstorm coming so they'd get rained in. And that was the Nashville flood that like killed people, because it didn't seem like that much rain was coming. And it rained so bad that everything in my field like just ran everywhere. And so I had no idea what would come up where. But also that year, I had a lot of cucumber plants all over the place. There were not rows anymore. And that was actually in the pig pasture, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was just like getting buckets of cucumbers. So hopefully we have that. So I've been like hopefully preemptively researching cucumber dish ideas. Like, because otherwise it's going to be the same German cucumber dill salad that I make all the time until you hate it.
Yeah.
The cucumber, tomato, and balsamic salad's pretty good too.
Yes.
Yeah, that one will totally happen. So now that the beds are in, any idea on how we could do some trellises over there?
I honestly think that we should look at getting the framework for the shade cloth up and then have the trellises hang from that.
Okay. I like this idea, because that was my next question, was the shade cloth needs to go up at the end of June latest. Are we just going to do 4x4s, or how are we going to do that? Are we having tea in the garden tonight?
I don't know. That's one of those questions. It's like, I know that I can probably pull a couple of cedar posts, but it's going to take time to get those ready. And it would look nicer. But 4x4s is definitely simpler.
What would you rather do?
Of course, I want to use the cedar.
So are we doing cedar work days all month long to get this done by the end of the month?
We could.
You know, what he does with cedar posts is he goes into the woods and like I've done videos of the redneck dragging trees across the yard, right? And like, what is he doing? I knew darn well what he was doing. He takes the cedar and he cuts all the branches off and he burns it and tars it. It's tar, right? That you're putting on that and burns it pine tar. Do you burn the pine tar after it's on? No. And how long do you let it set after that before you use it?
Until the pine tar is soaked in as much as it's going to soak in.
Is that weeks or months?
Depending on temperature, it's usually a couple of days to a week.
Yeah. So the truth of the matter is, if we could get a collection of cedar trees and some helping hands, we probably could do a lot of that.
Yeah. And I know where several are that need to get drug out, and I ran out of battery on the saw when I was back here the last time.
So guys, if this is of interest to you to learn how he does this, it's how he makes fence posts out of them too. What is it? So there's a method that is. It's a Japanese method, isn't it?
Well, there's what people call Shiki Bun, which apparently is a combination of Japanese and Chinese gibberish. There is an actual Japanese technique, and it's specifically with, I believe it's cypress, and it has to do with a specific chemical in that specific tree that makes it work so well. But the combination of charring the wood and coating it in tar does prolong the life of the post. I've heard various numbers, as low as like 10%. Some people say 30%. It will extend the life of the post, and it's definitely not going to hurt it. So I'm trying to eke as much as I can out. I've dropped some cedar posts in concrete that were just bare post here, and I think that went like 5 years before there was enough rot that the post started wobbling. And I've also started dry packing all of my posts, because if I do start to get that kind of rot, I can throw some more dirt down and just pack in to fill the voids instead of having to pull the whole post and reset everything with concrete.
That makes sense.
So it's all about just...
Where did you learn about doing that? Just on YouTube or?
Yeah, just watching stuff over the years.
Okay.
And like, I'll find something like that. And I think the first place I saw it was with Northsman. There's a YouTube channel, and they're somewhere in Northern Europe. I think this was the first place I saw it, and then I just went down the rabbit hole researching it.
Yeah. So if you guys want to learn all about that or come help with that, just send me an email. We'll do some Charchat nights where we char posts, and the fun part is you get to use the propane torch. Yeah, we need to set up a station for that makes sense, so it's not just all under Taj Mahal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and speaking of Charchat, I was going to start doing more biochar, so there may be some Charchat opportunities that involve sitting around burning wood. Yeah. So what about this cabin hydro setup? What are you looking to do there?
The one that I've got down there?
Yeah.
Basically, I need to look at that system to see what it's going to take to get it back online. I made an executive decision last year and did not put that system back in use last summer. So We kind of got an inkling to do it, so probably tomorrow I'll take a look. I know some of the fittings have popped loose and everything. I need to see if the pump still works. Probably drain the entire thing and clean it out a little bit, and then possibly going to be playing around with doing a worm bin on top of the sump that drains straight into the sump.
Yeah.
So I have not made it too far down that rabbit hole yet as far as thinking about it, but it's kicking around in my head.
Yeah, he likes growing plants a lot. So not that you would know that because he's out with the sheep most of the time, but you're growing plants for them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we need to do a pump audit of all the systems and make sure we have backup pumps for all the systems.
Yeah, I need to dig through what I've got down there, which
Yep.
is basically in a pile.
Yeah, Amy says making char requires no monsoon conditions. This spring has been rough. Yeah, I have been burning char under Taj Mahal or in a kettle grill, in a Weber kettle grill when I do it, except for that one time at my workshop with Jack where it was not raining at that moment. And I have plastic over the feeder wood that we have right now, but you are absolutely right. It's really hard to do burns when there's a whole bunch of rain. Like we're not just getting like light sprinkles. It's like monsoon level rains, sideways wind, all of this stuff. That's the way it's been all spring. So
yeah, it's been wildly unpredictable this year.
When I came home from Salatin's place from Exit and Build Land Summit, I drove up and his Jeep was in where I usually park my Subaru for safety, I assume. So it looked like somebody was here.
No, that's where I pulled up the last time, and I wasn't expecting you to actually come all the way back that night.
Oh yeah, yeah. The call of my own bed was strong. And I noticed that your Toyota was also up here. What's up with that? He has a Toyota. It's an 83.
It's an 84, and apparently the third time is the charm. I had the nut that holds the throttle cable to the carburetor I don't know if it just vanished, it was stolen, it dematerialized, it was just gone. And I started the truck up and it instantly went to full throttle and I killed it as fast as I possibly could. I was like, well, I think that's the first time I've ever actually had a runaway engine. And, after, 13 years of actually being a mechanic with the military. But I ordered one, threw it on the counter, went to go grab it to put it on, and it was gone. So I ordered another set, and FedEx lost that set. And then I finally broke down and ordered another set. And the irritating part about this is it's like $3.68 for the parts, and then it's like $12, $14 for shipping every time you order this. So it came in. I did not have time to deal with it right then, but the next day I was like, this is going straight down to the truck and going on there. So then it took me a minute because it's also a spot on the truck where you can't see. And so I had to stick my phone back there and take a picture so I could look to see what it looked like, or else I'd have to take half the thing apart. And it's like, okay, yeah, I think that's how it goes back together again. And then I got it bolted up, and then I drove it up to the end of the road and back, and was like, no, I don't want to sell it.
Yeah, he was getting it ready to sell, and now he doesn't want to sell it because it's fun to drive. Are you going to sell it or not?
Yeah, I'm going to sell it.
Why?
She's built for rocks, and my body is not.
Oh. That's a little sad.
I know.
Is that like the redneck version of I'm getting old?
That's absolutely the redneck version of I'm getting old. She bounces like an angry mule kicks.
And you don't like that?
Oh, my body can't take that anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's true. You do have your injury on your arm.
Yeah, I need to get that wrapped again.
Yeah. Amy's asking, are you eating carnivore with veg? So ketovore is mostly how we eat here, and it's just garden vegetables and whatever meat. most of the time. I put heavy cream in my coffee, and I eat cheese. I also pour coffee down my shirt as part of the live stream. There's a hole in my chin.
Apparently.
Yeah. It just funneled right down the middle, too. So today I left a note for the mailman. So yesterday I came back from I don't remember what I had a phone call about my taxes with my business taxes with the accountant. And it went longer than I thought it was. And I wasn't here when the mailman came because I was going to go talk to him about the situation that we faced together. And I had left the mailbox open, but I had like the note in there that says the coffee orders are in the package drop area. And I walked down the hill to take my dogs on a walk, and I see that there's mail in the mailbox. Both doors are still open, and that sign is thrown on the ground. And I was like, I see what happened here. Ants had taken over my mailbox, and I had left them open because ants don't like to be in the light, and that usually chases them out. And I think what happened is I had that note in there and some ants were under it, and the poor mailman touched that note and they probably like started crawling up his hand, and so he threw it and probably went like that. And then he knew what I was doing with the mailbox. He did not close the mailbox. He did not touch the mailbox again. He just put the mail in there, which was kind of funny. And he got my packages and left. And so today I left a note and I said, did you know that orange essential oil melts exoskeletons of insects so that they melt from the outside in? I doused the mailbox in orange oil, and all I could imagine was thousands of tiny little voices going, ee! Let me know if it becomes a problem again, Nicole. So I wanted him to know that I had taken care of the issue, but also that not that I had not put any like crazy bug spray in there, so he would know what it was that he was smelling when he got there. So we've had a lot of ant pressure this year.
And it's getting worse.
It's getting worse. I do know that as our soil improves, it actually will get better, but not this year because we're still dealing with compacted soil from all of the earthworks we did.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with it very quickly. So, and that's where they tend to be, except for they're also in some of my raised beds. There's a lot of orange oil that goes into the raising of vegetables here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun when you hit them with the mower.
Yeah. Yeah. Red Flyer Media, just hit me up. I'll send you a link to the orange oil I use. You dilute it. It comes in a little bottle. You dilute it like a tablespoon or 2 per gallon of water. Is that the one? Yeah, Medina. This is it right here. Happens to be by the sink because I made a spray bottle with it for the mailbox. So that works well. Last night, right before dinner, when he's usually taking a shower, I walked outside and I heard a strange noise coming from in front of the cabin. And it went something like this. What were you doing?
Trying to bust a piece of a rock out.
Why were you doing that?
There was a very large rock that I managed to get moved to about 20 feet from its final resting place. And then right before the workshop, Glenn helped me get it almost completely to where it's going to live. And then I discovered that when I broke this chunk of rock out before, I did not break enough of it out. And so there is about a 2 to 3 inch gap. And so I was sitting there with the SDS trying to chisel out a section out of this rock that's big enough so that I can push this thing out of the way. And I don't know, I guess that will end up being a 2-year project.
Yeah.
That rock had to have sat in the driveway for at least 1.5 years.
Yeah, there was a big rock in his driveway for a long time, but that was just funny because usually you're like, I'm out, I'm going to take my shower and I'm going to come to dinner. And you're like, I was like, I'm just getting stuff out of the freezer right now.
I was looking at it this morning because I still need to chisel a little bit more of it out. And I was like, no, I need to move the sheep.
So I haven't actually linked you up with the third day Beverages Company people yet, have I? Haven't told you about them. And you haven't been listening to my podcast.
No.
No. So Tina and Chris from Third Day Beverages discovered a really nice spring on their property, and the volume that comes out, like it's like perfectly awesome water that doesn't need treatment.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And what's cool about what they're doing is, like, not only did they tap into a resource on their homestead that can allow them to have a family-run business, which means you can be around family more, but they're setting it up so that it's the kind of business they would want to work at. So like being an employee there sounds like it's going to be really awesome too.
Yeah.
And it got me to thinking about the spring at base camp and getting that tested, because I know my spring has some things in it that we treat for, but based on where that one comes out, that might be cleaner.
I would imagine so.
So I'm thinking maybe we should get that water tested.
Probably.
Because nobody uses that water. And I noticed you've been poking over at the storage tank there. What have you been doing there?
During one of the freezes this winter, the pipe that goes into that cistern split, and there was already a hole in the ground going to a cave somewhere, and that just made it even worse. So thus far, I got the pipe cut off and got the water rerouted to go into the pond temporarily. And I need to go over there with an angle grinder, probably the SDS, and a pressure washer, and actually knock the pipe out of the concrete for the cistern and replace that so that I can replumb everything and then start filling that hole back in.
Because it wouldn't probably burst in the cold if it hadn't already been open to the air, right? Yeah. So we're gonna, I mean, like, as we develop out the property here for more visitors, it occurs to me there are things people want to see when they're here, and like walking up to the head of that spring is super interesting.
We should probably take a look at the actual spring house, because I'm sure
it could be cutified.
It needs some repairs, but I'm curious to see how much of it is still salvageable.
Yeah, I bet a good amount of it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, when people built spring houses back in the day, they tried to build them so that they weren't under constant repair like mine is.
Well, I mean, the spring and the cistern part that's up there is fine. It's the roof, and like I know the door last time I was up there was held on by like one or two screws in one of the hinges.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's probably fallen off by now.
Probably. That's what happens around here. Anyway, that's my whole list. I don't see any more questions from everybody except for Pack Rat wants to know if diluting the orange oil keeps it from wicking into your mail. No, but I used a spray bottle to coat the mailbox and then let it dry. And now it smells like oranges down there at this point. And I just wanted the mailman to know it wasn't like chemical oranges. It was actual oranges. Yes, it does smell like oranges. Why? Also, the screaming of 1,000 ants dying is why. Yeah, I actually, while I was there, I realized that we have mildew buildup on the outside of the mailboxes, so I'm going to go down there and scrub them sometime next week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan. Anyway, that's everything we got, guys. If you like the show and want to support the work we're doing here, you can do it in 2 ways. 1, get your coffee at Holler Roast. 2, consider becoming a member. Head over to livingfreeintennessee.com to find out more about that. With that, go out,